and gents, our next pro fight is sponsored by WSG. Please welcome your first fighter into the blue corner. Representing Bergen MMA, bring your hands together for Alexander Gudbrandsen.
Pretty standard walkout tune, I think. It's been MMA show if you don't hear all of the lights at some point during the night.
We've had all of the lights, we've had Can't Stop, we haven't had Street Caroline yet.
That's very true.
Yeah.
I wanna taste the pain. I think I'm seeing all red. 2 bullets in the gun, 1 shot to the head. I need a blank space. 'Cause everything is a threat, but I never back down, man. I'd rather be dead. I make it hard to face. See the better in bed. Never rock this life till I take my last breath. I wanna make a change. I got 1 life left, so I'm gonna go down swinging. Don't you forget. Everything is so boring. Can't get up in the morning. I'm so sick of the mundane and routine. I'm gonna break without warning. I wanna taste the pain. I think I'm seeing all red. 2 bullets in the gun, 1 shot to the head. I need a blank space. 'Cause everything is a threat, but I never back down, man. I'd rather be dead. I make it hard to face. She look better in bed. Never rock this life till I take my last breath. I wanna make a change. I got 1 life left, so I'm gonna go down swinging. Don't you forget. I've gotta find a purpose, something actually worth it.
And here we go. The Norwegian Alexander Gudbrandsen getting the last check off for the three before making his way into the cage here.
All right, ladies and gents, could you please welcome his opponent into the red corner, representing TFT MMA. Bring your hands together for Paul Hartburn.
I wanna taste the pain. I think I'm seeing all red. 2 bullets in the gun, 1 shot to the head. I need a blank space. 'Cause everything is a threat, but I never back down, man. I'd rather be dead. I make it hard to face. She look better in bed. Never rock this life till I take my last breath. I wanna make a change. I got 1 life left, so I'm gonna go down swinging. Don't you forget. Everything is so boring. Can't get up in the morning. I'm so sick of the mundane and routine. I'm gonna break without warning. I wanna taste the pain. I think I'm seeing all red. 2 bullets in the gun, 1 shot to the head. I need a blank space. 'Cause everything is a threat, but I never back down, man. I'd rather be dead. I make it hard to face. She look better in bed. Never rock this life till I take my last breath. I wanna make a change. I got 1 life left, so I'm gonna go down swinging. Don't you forget.
Weight contest. Introducing your fighters first of all in the blue corner. Age 27, he stands at 5'8" tall. He has a mixed martial arts record of 1 win, 1 loss and no draws. From Bergen, representing Bergen MMA, he weighed in at 60.7 kilograms. Put your hands together for Alexander Gudbrandsen. Facing him across the cage in the red corner, it's his opponent. Age 36, he stands at 5'7" tall. He has an MMA record of 1 win, no losses and no draws. From Hartburn, representing TFT MMA, he weighed in at 61.1 kilograms. Please put your hands together for Paul Hartburn. We scheduled for 3 5-minute rounds. Your referee is Trevor Mitchell. The action's about to begin.
15 minutes should we need it to decide this one. Paul Hartburn, the black Venom shorts with the gold trim and the Venom gloves. Gudbrandsen, fighter shorts with the black gloves. Trevor Mitchell gets these two underway, and here we go.
Gudbrandsen, the much rangier fighter, looking to establish that jab. Paul Hartburn needs to try and cover the distance and get his wrestling working. There's a good overhand right from Paul Hartburn early on.
Feeling out here. Gudbrandsen, the slightly taller of the two men.
Using those straight punches, those calf kicks, those long-range weapons, trying to keep Paul at the end of his reach. Give him plenty of time to react if Paul does decide to shoot for a takedown.
Searching for that right hand is Gudbrandsen. Hartburn staying very calm, very composed. Faking an overhand right there just to see if he can get a read on his opponent.
That overhand right's a good tool for a wrestler because you can start to threaten with the overhand and then come underneath with a double leg.
Some stiff strikes here from Gudbrandsen.
Beautiful boxing from Gudbrandsen, and he gets a good frame in and defends the initial shot, but Paul Hartburn just went straight in after him again.
I think Paul's one of those athletes that moving to the pro game, them longer rounds, certainly benefits his style of fighting. This horrible wrestling against the fence.
Gudbrandsen looking for a ninja choke but didn't quite get it, but I agree with you totally. Like, if Paul Hartburn can get his offensive sequences working and get someone stuck in a defensive wrestling loop, that's going to be hard to maintain for 15 minutes. Like, if Paul Hartburn can get on top and start wearing on the guy over 15 minutes, I think finishes will materialise a lot more for him. Again, going for that single leg. Gudbrandsen keeps threatening with that ninja choke. He looks like he has a really dexterous, like, choking arm and a lot of unorthodox submission threats from these positions.
Very, very unorthodox with looking for that one.
Big overhand right, and Gudbrandsen turns his back on a punch, and that allows Paul Hartburn in on his hips.
Straight back in again. This relentless pressure we know Paul Hartburn can deliver forever, it feels like sometimes. He just doesn't let up.
And you see, he's already starting to force these mistakes out of Gudbrandsen. But beautiful move by Gudbrandsen, managing to reverse the position entirely and getting back into the open. Both men, after this first grappling exchange, look a little bit slower in the striking. But Paul Hartburn maintaining that pressure, keeping that good cage position and shooting in again.
Lovely stuff there from Gudbrandsen, trying to fire a knee up the middle, just missing out.
And obviously knees to the head are legal now. Not like the amateur card earlier. Knees to the head, elbows, heel hooks, all these new tools become available at pro level.
How much of a transition is it to pro? Of course, this is for both these guys just their second pro fight. How difficult is it to get used to these longer rounds, the slightly adjusted rule set?
I think the longer rounds are a real, like, they take a while to get used to. Like, position, you know, in amateur fights, if you get a body triangle, you've won that round, almost certainly. Whereas in a pro fight, they have so much more time to get out. Like, you have to maintain and sustain your work so much longer in pro fights than you do in amateur fights.
Those who don't know may think, oh, well, it's only an extra 6 minutes altogether. Yeah, that's 2 extra rounds if you were an amateur.
Exactly. Gudbrandsen doing a good job of defending the wrestling, but Paul seems persistent with it. I feel like Paul is just going to keep going with this. He's going to keep shooting until he gets something. And then I feel like when he gets something, he can really, like, put Gudbrandsen in a defensive loop.
It's a funny one, I guess, with Paul having so much footage out there. It's a lot easier to study him than it would be Gudbrandsen. It's a lot easier to tailor-make a game plan to try and beat Paul than it would be to beat Gudbrandsen.
Yeah, Gudbrandsen's a hard one to get footage on. Like, when I try to do a bit of research on him, I just got this pro ice hockey player popped up. Like, it must be really hard to make a game plan for this kind of fight. So Paul Hartburn is just going out and he's fighting his fight. He likes to go forward, he likes to wrestle. That was a very egregious fence grab from Gudbrandsen there that saved him there.
It wasn't, and that was a big warning off Trevor Mitchell. I know he's in the rules meeting before was very, very clear on that. That if it's something like that persists, you might get that one that you just got there, but if it's another one, it's going to be a point deduction.
Paul Hartburn managed to get his takedown in the end. Elected to throw a knee instead of maintaining the top position, which might not have been the smartest decision, but can't blame a man for trying to finish a fight.
Certainly can't. And look, we touched on the game plan here. How much of it then for Paul is it just to work on himself and become the best all-rounded fighter he can, and not worry too much about what Gudbrandsen's going to bring because he knows what he's going to bring?
Yeah, and I think Paul's style really suits. Beautiful knee to the body. Sorry, but Paul's style really suits not actually knowing about the, like. He doesn't really need to tailor make much. Get the guys back to the fence, hit them, take them down, wear them out, beat them up. Like, you don't really need to know a whole lot about someone to want to do that to them. Like,
there we go, end of the first 5-minute rounds.
Paul looking fresh. Gudbrandsen looked a little bit slower after a few of those exchanges, but seemed to get a second wind a little bit towards the end of that round. This is becoming a really interesting fight.
Do you take anything in opting to sit down as opposed to stay standing in between rounds, or do you think it's something that's made more of than it should be?
I think it's probably something that's made more of than it should be. I always stand. I don't like sitting. Well, you know, I have fighters who, like Leon, like sitting. I don't think it makes a huge amount of difference. I think it's just what you're more comfortable with. I would prefer standing. Like if I had a 10-round fight, I would stand between rounds each round. I think Gudbrandsen's corner, I mean, they seem to be motioning about straight punches and double jabs. So I think that's really good advice. I think the double jab would serve him really well. Double jab, keeping on those calf kicks, and Paul Hartburn needs to keep doing Paul Hartburn things.
He certainly does, and here we go.
Because as that round was progressing, he was getting closer and closer and closer on each takedown. I think the fatigue might be setting in for Gudbrandsen, but it's hard to tell because he did look fresh at the end of that round.
Coming back off a bad injury as well is always going to be a struggle, isn't it?
Yeah, there might have been that bit of ring rust. It might have been in the back of his mind until he'd actually had a few exchanges. Gudbrandsen immediately going back to that double jab, or going to that double jab that his corner asked for, sorry. Both firing calf kicks off at the start of this round.
Lovely single leg entry there from Paul Hartburn.
Beat a lot of the defences, used the timing really well. Didn't have to deal with any frames or anything, just got straight on that leg.
Look, it's grindy, it's wrestly, but it's important. Cage time. Cage time plays a massive part, especially against somebody like this, unorthodox like Gudbrandsen. It's invaluable, really, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And like, while you have a guy like Gudbrandsen pressed against the fence like this, he's not doing all his unpredictable weird stuff, which is really valuable. However, Gudbrandsen is starting to get these elbows off. This is a big change now. We're in the pro card. You can't hang your head low like that on a double leg for extended periods of time because people will elbow you.
Look, we've seen this recently on the Cage Warriors where your brother defending his belt. Chris Bungard and Gav Hughes. Gav Hughes shot for a double and Chris Bungard was chipping away with that elbow. That's just what we're seeing there. But now Paul gets his fight to the ground. This is Paul's bread and butter, isn't it?
Yeah, and he's got that leg laced. This is a really good position, and it's a really hard position for Gudbrandsen to work his way out of. Like, there's no easy low effort escape to this. So this is what I mean by Paul Hartburn putting him in a defensive loop. Like, he's now going to try and like create frying pan fire situations. Gudbrandsen's either got to get back to his guard where he stays on his back for the rest of the round, getting beat up. He can try and go for single legs and stuff where his neck's under threat, or he can try and turn his back to get up, but then he's giving his back.
The position, is it more beneficial where they are now for Paul Hartburn or Gudbrandsen? For that, I mean, to get up, getting pressed up against the cage the way he is.
It depends how good Gudbrandsen is at wall walking, really. Beautiful transition from Gudbrandsen. That was unbelievable. He slipped a punch from bottom guard and then managed to nearly get a back take off it. That was amazing. What a reversal of fortunes there. And then he goes to the body.
This
nice uppercut.
Into one hell of a fight between Alexander Gudbrandsen and Paul Hartburn.
Gudbrandsen just, his frames just aren't there like they were in the first round, so Hartburn's managing to shoot through his defences much easier. And now he's giving his back. Hartburn just relentless with his pressure.
Nice knee there to the side.
Hartburn electing for a more wrestling style control, not trying to throw the hooks in just yet, going more for ground and pound. This is a much more fatiguing approach generally.
It is, but you've got, from what we've seen just before there, you've got to be wary of Gudbrandsen. The way he can just change the momentum of the fight the way that he looked to before.
Yeah, definitely. Like, even from a really bad position like this, you kind of feel like Gudbrandsen will have some trick up his sleeve to reverse the position. However, Paul does have that wrist control. Now he's going for this crucifix.
Just chipping away here is Paul Hartburn.
Got to be wary when you're going for crucifixes like this, though. You are loading your weight much higher up their body. The chance for them to escape out the back door is there, so Paul Hartburn is really careful right now. And he's giving it up and he's got his hips back nearer to Gudbrandsen's hips.
Look at it. Feel his arm under the neck of Gudbrandsen there was Paul Hartburn. Just chipping away here.
This is really valuable. Like, this is good quality work. It's money in the bank for the next round if it gets there, and it's really wearing Gudbrandsen out and putting like a lot of damage on the clock.
Gudbrandsen 2-on-1 here on Paul's left hand. That hand he's been using to chop away so much. Now he's turning to the knees, firing the knees into the legs of Gudbrandsen. But and a tyrant fight itself is going to wear you out even more, no?
Yeah, and like all of Gudbrandsen's defensive options here are going to require a lot of energy, so just sapping that energy with those knees to the body is a really smart idea. Hartburn now seems to be working more for that seatbelt kind of position. Gudbrandsen building up. Hartburn going for a... I think that might have been a mistake from Hartburn. He kind of went for a arm triangle from the back, and Gudbrandsen's used it to stand back to his feet.
And here we go, back to the feet. Both men breathing heavy here.
Yeah, both men are working really hard in this fight.
20 seconds left in this second round. Nice jab from Gudbrandsen, just forces Hartburn back against the fence.
I think Gudbrandsen needs to try and get some of that variety back in his striking. He's becoming a bit one note at the minute.
If he knows, look, he's got 10 seconds of this round left. I imagine he knows he's 2 rounds down. Do you just
Beautiful right hand by Hartburn. Sorry to talk over you.
Not at all. Does he have to then just go, if you like, hell for leather in the third? Hartburn finishing that round there as well with a lovely takedown.
Yeah, it's a bit of a catch-22 though, because you need to go hell for leather in the third. You need that finish. But by doing so, you open yourself up to getting taken down more. So, to win the fight, you almost need to make yourself vulnerable to what's losing you the fight. It's a really, really hard position to be in. And I think a lot of people, when they've been wrestled the first 2 rounds, they think, oh, I need to knock the guy out. So they start loading up on the strikes and putting everything into the strikes. And that makes the takedowns come so much easier. I think what Gudbrandsen actually needs to do is take some of the sting out of the strikes. Go for some lighter strikes, some faster strikes that are actually landing, and then use that to work his way to finding his power strikes.
And for Paul, is it more of the same for Hartburn? Just keep doing what he's doing in this last round?
Yeah, definitely. Just keep doing what he's doing, picking his spots. He doesn't need to work super hard with like trying to wrestle the entire time. He just needs to pick his spots with his wrestling wisely and not allow Gudbrandsen back into this fight.
Here we go, the third and final round. And we're underway.
Gudbrandsen back to that double jab. I feel like his corner keeps telling him to double jab. It's a very smart idea. It's going to set up his power shots, and he probably needs a finish at this point. Nice jab across from southpaw. Maybe switching stance might not be a bad idea for him right now. Make it harder for Paul to line up his takedowns. Nice right hand to the body. Feel like Paul's just taking his time, slowly working Gudbrandsen's back against the fence. Beautiful knee! Oh my God!
Paul dipped there, and Gudbrandsen landed a massive knee.
Gudbrandsen, he can't squander his advantage here. He cannot let Paul off the hook. Beautiful knee.
Hartburn doing the right thing here though, just trying to tie things up, get his head back to where he needs to be.
Gudbrandsen, he looked like he was awkward with those chokes earlier. If Paul is like a bit sloppy trying to get back to his feet, he's going to get his neck snagged. He needs to be really careful with what he does right now.
Huge knee up the middle. And you see just how quickly the tides can turn in these pro fights when knees to the head are allowed.
Yeah, it's such a hard surface and such an easy strike to generate a lot of power with. Paul seems to be really struggling now. He's going more octopus guard.
Nasty elbow into the body there from Gudbrandsen, who has turned the tides in this one.
Gudbrandsen kind of has that, the way he's holding his wizard, he's got that threat of that front headlock sequence and that darce, but he's using it to get Paul back on his back and land this ground and pound.
Can't quite hear what they're saying, but Gudbrandsen's corner screaming at him here.
I can't quite speak enough Norwegian to hear them either.
Very true, yes.
But yeah, Gudbrandsen's doing a fantastic job here of maintaining the underhook. However, has he let Paul off the hook? He's got his back, he's got both hooks in.
This is a bad place to be if you're Paul Hartburn, but he seems to have let go of one of his hooks.
I think Hartburn managed to kick his leg and strip the hook. However, his back is still there, and that was a beautiful elbow. That was vicious from Gudbrandsen.
It's that unorthodox striking we were on about before. You wouldn't necessarily expect him to throw that elbow there.
Yeah, he's unorthodox on the feet and unorthodox with his ground striking. And Paul's back to his feet.
Big cheers as Paul Hartburn gets back to his feet.
When he gets back to his stance, this is when we'll be able to tell. Has he got his faculties about him 100% yet? Has he cleared his head, or is he still hurt? Goes to his back again. Gudbrandsen pressure it in.
Look, it was a monstrous knee hit him with. Gudbrandsen urging him up. Paul backing up against the fence. He had to get to his feet. Swings a big right hand of his own.
And then
another knee from
comes in.
Gudbrandsen.
Gudbrandsen with his hands down, almost inviting Paul back into the fight, wanting to open Paul up, get him out of his defensive shell. Paul obviously be wanting to get another takedown.
Of course, it's easier said than done after you just wrestled hard for 12 minutes, but how much do you really think Gudbrandsen needs to be putting on the pressure here and trying to get the finish?
100%, and Paul has done a beautiful job of getting to his back. Gudbrandsen grabbing the fence again. That could be a point deduction if he does that one more time.
And that could be massive in a round like this.
Yeah, like, I reckon if he'd have stayed on top and kept ground and pounding, he might have got a 10-8 round and he might have been able to scrape a draw out of this. But Paul is turning the round around. If Paul can continue this offense, Paul wins the fight. Paul needs to stay on him right now.
And that is exactly what Paul Hartburn is doing.
He can't just hold right now. He cannot just keep hold. He needs to work. He needs to attack. Obviously, he'll be tired and he'll be dazed. But he needs to be throwing these punches, and Gudbrandsen needs to do whatever he can to get out of this position. Do you think Gudbrandsen's probably regretting letting Paul back to his feet at this point, but I feel like he probably thought that was his best option to land another shot like that.
And Paul doing a nice job here of just tying Gudbrandsen up against the fence. He's got his leg laced through. Firing in some big shots here.
Both men clearly very tired at this point. This has been a hard fight with big swings and momentum going in it.
It's incredible seeing how deep Paul Hartburn's having to dig here to try and save this round.
10 seconds left.
10 seconds to go here.
Paul threatens the bulldog choke, but kind of gives his back in the process.
Needs to watch here. And there we have it. We go 15 minutes in this one, and what a fight that was. Lovely show of respect between the two there. Gudbrandsen visibly exhausted. All back up on his feet, arms in the air, but what a fight that was.
15 minutes is a long time to be fighting that hard. Both
Ladies and gents, put your hands together for both of our warriors in this contest. All right then, ladies and gents, after 3 hard-fought 5-minute rounds in this professional contest, we have your winner by way of unanimous decision in favour of the red corner, Paul Hartburn. Also, let's hear for your runner-up, Alexander Gudbrandsen. Jake Smith's going to have a couple of words.
Paul, that fight, you were 2 rounds to the good, then you got hit with that big knee. How hurt were you in that 3rd round?
I wasn't out, but it wobbled his leg. He hit hard. He was long. I struggled to get in my range, but one thing to say, Robbie Brown, I'm still the hardest man in Hartlepool.
Look, that's 15 minutes of like invaluable cage time there for you. But just on Gudbrandsen, that was a tough test for you there tonight.
Yeah, especially after the first one when he had last minute drop out, but yeah, he pushed us all the way. I felt it wasn't the best performance. I know I've got better in the time, but 15 minutes, I'll take it in my stride.
What's next then?
It'd be cool to fight abroad, but me and my family were talking before. I'm 37 next month. If this was my last one, I'm happy, but we'll see what happens, yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, Paul Hartburn! I would like to see him fight again, but if that is Paul Hartburn's last fight, what a way to go out.
That was an incredibly tough test for him to overcome. especially getting dropped like that in that third round. Like, he kept his composure well. He managed to mitigate the damage that Gudbrandsen was trying to inflict on him with the ground and pound. And then he managed to pull it around and get to Gudbrandsen's back, and then